Good morning. All right, so first of all, I want to say thank you to Media Post, right? What a great event this has been, except for the room. But other than that, it was awesome. I'm like in the Bronx of this establishment. They didn't give me room. I'm like in a tent over in the, I was like, really nice room. They were like, yeah, just keep driving. And then you get down to like a little tent. So I know we only have 20 minutes, and Jamie knows that I don't do anything really. It's hard for me to do any meetings in 20 minutes because I usually tell stories for 20 minutes. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to say. First of all, you could see the migration of everybody to the back of the room. You noticed yesterday everybody was like really into it and was way in the front. Now we're not feeling so good, so everybody started to slide back, right? It's just like college. Nothing changes, right? The next morning you feel like crap. The other thing that I will say is that I wanted to shout out to my boy Sean from Dish, right? Sean, hey, way to represent for Dish, because the other Dish guys left. Write that down. Yeah, Antonelli, who I was going to do a shout out, he's already on a plane. The other one I wanted to shout out to AARP, right? Because there's only a few of us in the room that know what AARP is, because you get that card at 50 years old, and it's one of the worst days of your life, right? You open up the mail, and they're like, hey, here's your AARP card. You're like, shit, huh?
The best day.
Yeah, it's the best day, not. It is one of those defining days in your life, right, where you, like, get that AARP card, and you're like, oh, shit, I'm 50. I'm getting an AARP card. But thank you, because I get discounts now. So that's a bad day. Every day after that is awesome, right? Because then you use the AARP card for great discounts. Good shout out? Okay. All right, now I'm going to All right, I know. We're almost done. Okay, so there's oh, look, she's got a timer up here. Oh, shit, that's not good. Look at that, she's timing me. That's a problem. Okay, so we established one thing. I want you to all take a good look at me, right? Don't look too hard. But why I want you to look at me? I am a baby boomer, right? And why do I want you to look? Because I am the person who's still watching traditional TV, the way TV has been watched for years and years and years. Next to me is the new TV viewer, and many of you in the audience. So I wanted to give you a perspective of that TV, is not dead, right? It's not dead. Give you a little perspective. I want to be Mr. Perspective up here because I've been around a little bit longer. So I worked at Nickelodeon as the head of sales for 13 years. When I was at Nickelodeon, the Kids' Choice Awards did like a 13 rating. Yeah, 13. So that's the number on this side of the decimal point. This year it did a 0.97. And that's the perspective that I want to give you. It's changing. TV is not dead, but the way people view content is changing, right? And what we have to do is really help push TV into a new digital world, right? And we have to help make that change go faster. Because the other perspective that I want to give you is that TV does not change quickly. Everybody's got muscles, beer muscles in March, right? I just went to a conference last week with Musinski and Mike Law and all the heads of these big agencies, and they're all pissed off. Agencies lied, networks lied to us. They said they were going to cut the pods and all that. Is this a Media Post? Oh, that was your conference, right? Shout out, another. It was a great conference in New York, and they all were pissed. Is this doing bad?
Sorry, you're fine. Just keep it on.
Okay, I'll put it in there. Nobody will ever want it. Okay. All right. So we went to the Media Post conference, and the Media Post conference was all these 5 heads of these agencies super pissed off, right, of where TV is going, that they're paying too much, right, for less. The last 3 years, TV ratings are down 30%. At the same time, the rate of change is up 30%. So ultimately, everybody's pissed off in March, and then comes June, and we transact 95% of the upfront exactly the same way we did 30 years ago, which is shocking. So we have to help force change and make it come quicker. Slides. So there is some of the things and issues that are going on in the marketplace. You see the freight train that is coming down the tracks. But again, TV's not dead. It's changing, and we have to follow it down the pipe. Now, if you're a CMO and you're sitting there, yesterday we had Yogi was here, right? Did a great job, made a great speech. But he is facing, as is every CMO, the challenges of a procurement officer over here, right? A CEO is over here. They're trying to drive more revenue in a world where the viewing is moving along this corridor. And how do I find that viewer, right? And in addition, you got procurement saying you got to do it cheaper. So those are the challenges. How do you find your quality audiences today? You know, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to do it. So the next and last slide is the cable, broadcast, addressable, OTT. So as this slide will show you that TV is not dead. It's just changing. And what we have to do is bring the addressable and the OTT and push it up to the top faster. And why I'm really happy to be here today is Jamie, we've been all talking about data the last few days. I'm not the data guy, right? But now I'm going to introduce you to the woman who really runs all of our addressable advertising. And she's going to take you how Cadent, right, is a solution. We have a great cable product, which helps you get access to every network, every day part, at about 30 to 50% below network pricing. We have a broadcast product, which adds reach to cable. So if you guys want to get on any network, Bravo, ESPN, Nickelodeon, doesn't matter. We get access through our 200 MVPDs. We have a national product, right down to the zone level. New York has 96 zones. You got to be in all of them, right? So we have a relationship with 200 MVPDs, right? Comcast, Charter, Cox, Altice, all of them. And we help you gain access to all of those networks, any day part, any show, any sporting event, you know, at 30 to 50% less. Now, we don't say we're better than or instead of network. We're a great complement. We're a solution to the problems, the inflationary issues that are going on. And every major advertiser is using us now. Every agency is using us now. They have discovered there is a way to combat the inflation. Broadcast is done the same way with 600 stations, early news, late news, PM news, syndication. You add that to our cable product, and you have now reach, you have efficiency and quality, and the last part of the equation is our addressable offering. And I'll just say this in closing. We are the only company that can bring you a cable product, a broadcast product, and an addressable product all in one meeting. So Jamie, tell us about the addressable part.
Thank you, Chuck.
Okay, I like this.
Can you guys hear me? Does this work? My mic work? Yeah? Okay. So, you know, we all know this, but TV is no longer defined by a screen on a wall. It's defined as content. Like Jim talked about, there's a ton of fragmentation. It's harder and harder to reach audiences, but it's actually kind of simple if you think about it. There's currently 3 different types of audiences. There's a traditionalist that's primarily viewing in a linear environment. Still actually doing like appointment viewing. Then we have the transitionalist group. This group is doing more time-shifted viewing. They still have their set-top box, but they're also starting to work with some of the SVOD content. And then we have the, the cord cutters and cord nevers. So while OTT is really important and we are bringing it into the mix in a thoughtful way, right now the percentage of households that is a transformational viewer, right, that has cut the cord is about 7% of the households. What we do is we're thoughtful of the way that we hit them because data and technology has allowed us to reach them in a viewing environment and stop living in a world that it's random frequency. So we want to make sure that we understand the audience, how they view television, and then more importantly, make sure that we're applying frequency within the right viewing environment. So if we look at this, these are 3 different viewers of television. They view content completely differently, but they're all allergy sufferers. So the brand needs to reach them. So just because there's no traditional measurement against these different viewers, we use data and technology to make sure that we're reaching allergy sufferers. So we might use allergy sufferers in linear addressable for traditionalists. The allergy sufferer we will do primarily maybe in VOD or start to layer on some IP addressable. And then finally, the cord cutters and cord nevers start to do this within premium television content in a OTT environment. So we work with a lot of different data spines. We have our own data spine built out. So the first thing that we do is identify the audience, figure out how they're viewing television, and then make sure that we're applying frequency within the environment that they are viewing television, but also understand the unduplicated reach across the screens so we can be thoughtful in the way that we're talking to them. So now we're going to get a little bit crazy and try a live demo in a room that you guys are all sucking up the Wi-Fi. So thank you. So Sam's going to switch over. So what we've built is the first national addressable platform. So we aggregate supply across set-top box and IP addressable. So if you think about the addressable marketplace right now, there's 70 million households that offer set-top box addressable. So that's either VOD or linear addressable. And then when we move into the IP addressable, we're talking about premium television content delivered either TV everywhere, virtual MVPDs like Sling, or connected OTT. So Sam is in the back and being Vanna, showing you the platform. But so what's interesting about the platform and the way that we built it is it's based on business outcome. So the frequency will change based on what the brand is trying to do. So if it's a CPG brand and the objective is to increase their purchase of their existing customers, the frequency would be one thing. But if I'm trying to increase penetration and bring new customers in, then we're planning at different frequency levels. The other thing that the platform does is we have 9 billion historic impressions that are mapped to all these different business outcomes. So we have predictive analytics that allows us to plan at an optimal level, making sure that we are planning based on the KPI, but also the frequency needed across different supply sources varies as well. So we're not just doing a flat frequency across all addressable suppliers. We're using data that we have from historical campaigns to make sure we're maximizing the value for the advertiser. The platform is 100% data agnostic, so we can ingest data from any source. We have integrations with Experian, Nielsen Catalina, Polk. We are actually a destination live ramp. So if a brand is leveraging an audience in a digital environment, we basically want to make sure that it's a seamless way to port the data from a digital environment and bring it into television. Here, Sam is selecting light brand switchers using Nielsen Catalina data because the goal of the campaign was to increase penetration. Here, we start to size the audiences. So we have integrations with all of the addressable providers, so Dish, Direct, Cablevision, Comcast, the Oath inventory, and then private marketplaces with some of the premium OTT providers. This gives campaign specs. And then here, we're showing optimal plan frequency. So this is basically a grid. Our goal is to make sure that if you give us a budget, so if you only have $300,000, that's probably going to only afford you one provider at the appropriate frequency. And then if you want to scale it across all supply, it'll do the same thing using the optimal frequency. So addressable to date has been a very kind of manual process. So I think that brands and agencies get frustrated because at the end of the campaign or when they're trying to plan, it's almost impossible to unify the targeting across the screen. And then when you get to the point of results, everyone shows things a little bit differently. So what this does is it brings all of it together. That way, what you learn from the campaign is actionable because it's unified and you can scale the results. Now what we have up is the way that we aggregate the reporting on the back end of a campaign. Addressable television is in its early days. It's kind of like the beginning of digital, where impressions are site served. There's varying definitions across the supply. And even the way that media delivery for the last couple of years was reported across suppliers was different. So the agency would get back different reports and then kind of cobble it together and try to give results to a client. Because we have relationships with all the providers, we aggregate the supply in this dashboard, and it's pretty easy for a client to understand this. What's nice about it is it's a pretty data visualization. It's there. It tells the story. It lays it out. It's versatile because a marketing client can look at it and understand and pull insights out quickly, but then all the data that sits here can be exported. So if the data science team wants to export the data that sits behind it, we've created a platform that they can do that. All the measurement that we do in Addressable is test versus control. And why that's important is it allows you to look at the incrementality of the buy. So Addressable TV is the only place in television that you can control for exposure. And we are looking at everything here, test versus control, looking at buy rate, sales rate, purchase frequency. But for every single category, whether we're taking a TV exposure and tracking it back to web traffic, or it's an auto advertiser and we want to first show we got them to go to the website, then we got them to go into a store, and then after the attribution window, a sales lift, we're able to report on the data and give kind of clients data and transparency into their TV buy the same way that they've gotten in digital, forever. That worked pretty well. I'm actually kind of impressed.
Was beautiful.
So that's it.
So the last thing we would say before we leave, right, is when we brought our teams together, right, Jamie came over, almost 2 years ago now, and we brought it together, a whole sales team together. What really unifies the team is this. Buyers are so afraid of losing GRPs and impressions. And how our product, our cable broadcast product, work with Addressable is because the efficiencies that you achieve through our products, saving 30%, you can actually use our cable product or our broadcast product, actually reduce your costs here, right? And if you reallocate a little bit of your money over to Cadent, that savings will keep your GRP levels at the same level. So you won't lose GRPs. People are always afraid, oh, if I do Addressable, I'm going to lose GRPs on my core campaign. No, you don't have to. By using Cadent, you can actually save some money, then use that money to execute an Addressable campaign. And that's how we come together to form the only company that allows you to move through the funnel and use Addressable and efficiency all on the same platform. So thank you. And if does anybody have any questions, we'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thanks, you guys. Jamie, Jim, that was great. We have maybe time for a quick question or two. If not, I know that we have Team Cadent here also back there, right? Raise your hand, guys, the other folks from Cadent. Any questions for these guys before we let them go? Anybody want to do a tour of Jim's tent? We're going to do the tent tour.
Taking it down right now.